Hello everyone and welcome to our online English class. Today we're going to be talking about how to annotate a poem. And the word annotate means to add notes or comments to provide explanation or context for a text. And just by looking at the word we can identify some roots in it. And so anytime that we don't understand a word or don't recognize it, we should always try to look for roots within the words that we can try to identify what the word means. And to start off, the first thing we should do is we should ask for things to look for within the text. And we can list some literary terms such as tone, imagery, setting, purpose, similes, repetition. But the main thing to remember is annotating is so free as far as your interpretation. So a lot of it is what the text means to you. And we're going to use this assignment to kind of follow into our next assignment, which is writing a paper over what the text means to us. So the important thing to remember when you're annotating something is to look for the author's purpose, especially, and what the text means to you. With literature, it's not so much as what the text says, but what you receive from the text. So today we're going to be looking at Hard Road by Li Po. This is a Chinese poet. The age of the text I really don't know. We're going to be looking and trying to pull out some literary devices that he uses within this poem. And again, just remember, we need to look for things that kind of stand out to us. So before we even annotate, we kind of want to look for imagery, repetition within this poem. Now, starting out, in my golden cup, pure wine worth 10,000 a pint. On a jade plate, fine food worth 10,000 coins. I stop drinking and put down my chopsticks, unable to eat. Draw my sword to dance, look anxiously in all directions. I want to cross the yellow river, but ice blocks my way. I want to climb mountain Tahang, but snow fills the sky. In idleness I drop a hook into the Asura Creek. Suddenly I'm back in my boat, dreaming of distant places. Traveling is hard, so many forks in the road, which one to take? A great enterprise must find the right moment. I hoist my sail into the clouds and cross the mighty ocean. So for context of this poem, you really have to know the background to understand what he's talking about. You can kind of pull out words and themes just by reading it. And like I said, when we look at poems, it's what it means to us. So without the context behind this poem, we could really, there's just a lot of different themes and ideas that you could pull from this. But he's actually a rich merchant, and he's wanting to leave that life to pursue his dream of being a poet. So when we look at this, we look at the first two lines in the poem, and it kind of states where he's at. He says, a golden cup, pure wine, food worth 10,000 coins. So just by looking at those two lines, we can tell that he's a rich person. And it kind of just points to where he's at as far as his life right now. And then we look at the lines 3 and 4, and we kind of see a metaphor when it says, I stopped drinking and put down my chopsticks, unable to eat. And really that's a metaphor for stopping. He's stopping what he's doing, the life that he's living, because he's not happy. And he looks anxiously in all directions. So he's kind of leading up to making a decision. And he knows that he can't go on from this point. In lines 5 and 6, we look and we see his desires of what he wants to do. He says he wants to cross the Yellow River, but ice blocks his way. He wants to climb Mount Tahang, but snow fills the sky. And a lot of times when we want to do something, we always find excuses. We look at things that kind of seem impossible. And that's kind of at the point he's at right now. He wants to make this decision, but he feels it's impossible because of everything that stands within his way. And in idleness, so he kind of settles back down and doesn't think that he can go on, that he can just fulfill the dream that he has, and suddenly he's back in the boat dreaming of distant places. And so then we look at the lines 9 and 10, and he says, traveling is hard, and that's kind of opposition from himself. So I know when we're trying to make a decision, we think it's just too hard, we can't do this. And so we kind of see a battle throughout this whole thing of whether he wants to do what's easy or he wants to do what's going to make him happy. And so many forks in the road, which one to take. And if you're familiar with The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost, it kind of points back to the idea that there's decisions that he can make, but in the end, it's all up to him. So it's which one to take, so many forks in the road. So the choice is really up to him. And then the last two lines, a great enterprise must find the right moment. And so this is when he realizes that it's time to make a change. I hoist my sail into the clouds and cross the mighty ocean. So at that moment, he finally starts his journey. So that's kind of what the poem's about, the idea behind it, and just a little bit of explanation. And so the first device that we're going to look for within this poem is imagery, because this poem is kind of just filled with it. Almost every line has imagery within it. And so you should have a copy of this on your Google Drive, on your Google Docs. And so in order to annotate in Google Docs, it's a little bit harder to write in Google Docs, but it's pretty easy to highlight things. So with the yellow highlight, you can use any color that you want. We're going to start by highlighting imagery within the poem. So imagery is anything that kind of piques any of the senses. So we look in the first line, in my golden cup. Golden is a noun, and it's obviously pointing to imagery. We got pure wine. We got a jade plate. Fine food. And imagery is also anything that verbs, kind of anything that's pointing to action. So you can see that he says, I stopped drinking, I put down my chopsticks. So all of that's imagery. He draws the sword to dance. And we see that he looks anxiously in all directions. And really, when you look at the poem, you don't realize how much imagery is within it. Ice blocks my way. And that's as far as I'm going to go, but when you turn in your final copy of your annotation, I want you to just go ahead and go through and highlight all of the imagery that you see within the poem. And then for any like repetition, the terms that I listed above, tone, imagery, setting, purpose, similes, repetition, I kind of want each one in a different highlight. If you can kind of give me a guide as to what color that you've chosen to highlight each literary device within. And then to add notes, it's a little bit difficult in Google Docs, but the document that I sent you is editable. Just go out to the side of it and just write what it means to you. So like in the first two lines, he's telling us where he is at this point in his life. And so, I mean, it doesn't matter how many words it is. It's kind of just what you think it means to you and any devices that you see within it. So we look at line 3, and I'm going to put a metaphor for stopping. He's trying to get up enough courage, enough strength to make this choice, this change. So I want you to just go through and mark it up. The messier it looks, the better. That makes me know that you've tried, and that really I just want you to have fun with it, and I want you to be able to get something out of it. And remember, I want you to pull kind of your idea of what it means to you, because we're going to use this on the next assignment. We're going to be writing a paper over it. So pull things that you can make an argument about of what it means to you. And that's about all I have. And so this will be due next week, and just be annotating. Send me a copy of your final, and hopefully we can meet in person soon.